Let me start over.
Give it again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. As you can see, we got a new couch, so we are a lot closer
Together.
united, and I
Finally.
love it.
Well, I felt like you were so far away before.
I know, and now we can really feel each other.
Yeah. Well, before it was like you were sitting all the way there, and I was sitting here, and then it was like it felt too disconnected.
Anyway, I just want to say that this couch is a sign that we've upgraded in the world because we were really riding on that little couch for a while.
Day by day.
But it did go to a family who has a baby and
They
a
put
new
it in
baby.
their nursery.
They put it in the nursery for the grandmother to sleep on.
So that's nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to open up the podcast by saying that I feel like I've done a disservice to you all.
Oh.
And I want to apologize for that.
Why do you feel that way?
Because I think somewhere along the way, especially this past, 2 weeks.
Right.
And I do think that's the reason why we didn't post a podcast last week was because I didn't want to put this negative energy out there. But I do feel that I lost track somewhere of why I do this podcast and the importance of this podcast. And I just want to say, for all of you new listeners out there, first and foremost, thank you to the OGs. You're the reason why we're here. We appreciate your love and support, and we love you forever back. Second of all,
what's up?
To all the new listeners out there, this podcast is kind of like a journal for Aaron and I to reflect on our past and to show every trial and tribulation to the point where we make it. Now, it is a bit of a risk to do this podcast because we don't know for sure if we'll make it. And we don't know for sure if our dreams will come true. But the hope is that by doing this podcast, we're putting it out into the universe, we're gaining support. And when you do see us shining in the stars, you can look back at this podcast and see, the reality of our day-to-day lives. Also, I want to say that I just watched Rocky for the first time. And it didn't change my life. I knew those things before I walked into that theater. But it was a nice pat on the back. And it was a nice reminder that maybe it's not about winning, but about going the distance. But my immediate reaction upon the fact that he lost was anger.
Yeah, I mean, you asked me as the fight was going on who's gonna win.
Well, because I couldn't watch. I don't like violence, even though I know you think I'm a violent person, but I'm not.
Well, no, it was more you. It wasn't you shielding yourself. It was you saying who's gonna win, and then as they were like announcing things at the end.
I didn't understand the rules. I didn't understand the rules
of boxing or of
boxing.
Oh, okay.
Of the movie.
I don't know. You were like, who won? And I'm like, we're getting there. They're about to announce it.
Okay, well, I didn't know because I didn't know how many rounds. I thought there were 3 rounds in boxing.
No.
I played Wii Sports.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
So there used to be 16 rounds, but...
Okay, so that's ridiculous. Like, that's why they leave with their faces looking distorted.
So that's why they've shortened it.
To what?
I think it's 12 rounds now because there used to be 16 rounds, but there were boxers who there was a boxer who got killed in the ring.
What did they do to him?
I mean, they just were fighting and he died
from
boxing.
A broken rib?
I don't know. I feel like I think it was probably a head injury.
Of course. Is that why you don't want your kids to play contact sports because of Rocky?
What?
Yeah, I thought about that when I was watching it.
That's why I wouldn't want my children to
Because
play contact
Aaron
sports?
is very adamant that he doesn't want his children to play contact sports because of concussions. And
How do you define a contact sport?
football, rugby,
I think football is more dangerous than rugby.
every rugby player I know has had at least several concussions. I was talking to my brother today, and I told him something about my life that I had already told him, and he didn't remember. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, it's 'cause I've had several concussions."
That's true.
But
That's
I think
also
that's
life.
just because he wasn't paying attention to me.
That's probably true. However, I will fuck the air conditioner. I gotta turn that off.
Go ahead, Aaron. So yeah, I watched Rocky for the first time. The other first time that I watched Rocky was a montage of the jogging scene that Aaron's dad showed me when I visited Hawaii for the
Yes.
first time. And so Aaron and his family are true Rocky fans.
The first one's great.
Okay,
One
well,
that we
that's
watched
the
was
one that
great.
we saw. We also listened to the speech on this very podcast
That's true.
of the second one,
That was like the sixth one.
the sixth
It's
one.
not even like the Rocky installment. It's Balboa. He made one where he's like old.
His name is Rocky Balboa.
Yes.
Wow, there's a street in San Francisco named Balboa
Could be.
after Rocky.
Is it?
I don't know.
Could be.
I doubt it.
Is it like a long strip?
Yeah, I think so.
Who's to say? We'll look it up later. That being said, wait, we were arguing prior to the AC going on. What was happening?
We were just arguing about the fact that you won't let your children play contact sports.
Oh yeah, we were talking about contact sports.
I understand why, and I respect it, and I do think that you value smarts over body,
Value smarts over body.
which is shocking because you're dating me.
Right. Well, I think sometimes you're a lot smarter than you.
You know,
either
when I watched Rocky,
dispense.
I didn't expect him to be so
He's adorable.
thick-headed, if you will.
What do you mean by thick-headed?
I think you know what I mean by thick-headed.
Like an idiot?
Let's not be rude. Slower.
Sure. Right.
And I realized I just really liked that about Rocky because I feel like usually, you know, the story of making it big and working to the top, it's usually like the little underdog who's super smart, who no one notices, but they apply themselves with their brains and their intellect and they outsmart everyone. And you know what? Rocky was just brute force who
He's just a
worked
brute.
hard. And that's how I felt in every single math class of my life.
Right.
And honestly, that's how
Like
I feel
reverse
today.
Goodwill Hunting, if you will.
Yeah, reverse Goodwill Hunting. And
Mm.
the question is, do you identify more with Will Hunting or Rocky Balboa?
Me personally,
Yes. They're two extremes. Okay, I'll give you that. But you
Yeah.
have to pick one and then say why.
I think
And which movie you like better. Or do we not say that? Are we not going to get into film bro territory on this podcast?
I think I would probably relate more. I think I'm in a different place. Like Balboa, he's like 30 and he feels like he's past the prime of his life. You know?
Yeah.
He's past the prime and he's just a neighborhood bum, as he calls it.
I do have to say, I really also appreciated the way that they just portrayed the most filthy, disgusting apartment
It
I've
was
ever
so
seen in my
gross.
life. Usually, like, the run-down apartments that
They look fine. That
television
looked
shows is nice.
disgusting.
It was so disgusting with the upside-down beer bottles stabbed into the couch. That really got me.
Oh yeah.
And all I could think about when they were sharing that tiny spring metal bed was like, wow,
Jesus.
they must really love each other. It kind of made me feel though
It's very sweet.
we had a nicer place than this, but when
of
we
the first place we moved into.
no, No, of my apartment when we would sleep on my broken bed all the time.
Oh, that. Yes.
My
Kind
bed
of. I
did
get what you
snap in
mean.
half, and I was too embarrassed to ask for a new bed frame. And so we slept on a broken bed for a long time. But nothing compared to what Rocky had to go through.
No, Rocky had it rough.
So back to my question.
About contact sports?
No, about Rocky or Will.
I mean, I think I'm not yet in the place of life that Rocky is in. I can relate to the triumph or the feeling of wanting to go the distance, but I think probably it's more of like I think most probably 23-year-old men probably
Relate to Will Hunting more.
I don't know if that's
No,
true.
because I
though.
completely disagree with you.
Okay.
I completely disagree.
That's fair.
And let me say why.
That's fair. I don't know what I'm saying.
Will is someone who has great potential. He knows that he has great potential.
Right, but
and
he's standing in the way of himself.
He's standing in the way of himself.
Right.
Everything is standing in the way of Rocky. He doesn't have the great potential.
Yeah.
But
he has the heart.
But he has the heart and he works for it. Now, Good Will Hunting... Bro, you almost spilled my tea.
Oh,
Please
sorry, I
don't
didn't see
touch
that.
me. Don't touch me during the podcast.
God.
I love you. Anyway, Rocky has the heart. He also has the drive. I think that Will has the drive, but he doesn't need it as much. You know, it's more about him overcoming his own personal obstacles.
Yeah. Which I think a lot of...
I also just think that they're completely different characters.
Yeah.
So
I didn't post the question here.
What I'm saying is they're both, local boys, and they're both triumph stories, okay?
Sure.
We all know a Rocky Balboa, and we all know a Will Hunting.
Do we know Will Hunting? In spirit.
In spirit.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So my question is, which one are you in spirit?
I think I typically stand in the way of myself. Like I do that more often than not. And I probably feel more like that often than not. I'm not someone who often feels like the world is stacked against me. But oh, sorry, I just stabbed your ear. So I think it depends. But typically I feel that way.
So what he's trying to say is that he's 100% Will Hunting. Aaron is very smart.
That's not what I'm saying. We're
no,
not talking about smart.
I'm saying.
We're not talking
not
about
you.
smarts.
I'm saying.
Okay.
He's super smart, super talented, and he often stands in the way of himself because he's afraid of his own success. That's a Will Hunting for you.
Okay.
I
am what?
Am obviously
I think we know what you are.
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, every scene in the movie, I was like, this could be Sophia right now. When the clock struck 4 a.m., I was like, oh, Sophia's about to be in a frenzy.
You know what I really liked about Rocky?
In the tidy whities, 4 a.m. getting up out of bed, I was like, that's Sophia.
Okay, yeah, because I do get up at 4 a.m. 5 a.m. in my tidy whities, and you don't even notice.
Yeah. That's what I imagine. His morning routine, getting up out of bed, that's what I imagine for you.
I'm sipping on green juice right now because I can't stomach 5 eggs. But one day, maybe. I don't like even cooked eggs, so...
Yeah.
Have a little bit of a problem there. I even pick it out of my fried rice, which is pretty sacrilegious. What? Egg.
Why get it with egg, then?
Well, sometimes you say that it's wrong to ask without egg.
Okay, cool.
Then they have to make a whole other...
Right.
Well, I don't even get fried rice, okay? I don't even get fried rice.
That's okay.
Anyway, the point is, I am a Rocky because... I don't know. Rocky, isn't the brightest guy. And he is not the most gifted, but he works really hard. And because of that, he doesn't get what he wants, but he comes close enough that he feels proud of himself. And I think that's just what I try to do every day and what this podcast is trying to do for all of you. So if you're listening to
Doing
this
for
right
who?
for them,
What are we doing for them?
we're helping them out.
Oh, yeah.
We're reminding them of their potential.
Right, yeah.
Whether you are a Will Hunting or a Rocky Balboa, you are welcome on this podcast.
Or a little feline.
Donna is definitely Rocky. There's no way she's a Will Hunting.
She's got the brute force, though. I saw her sprint around the house, jump into the window, which is like 4 feet up in the air, smash her face inside, make probably a bang that vibrated the whole apartment, fell right to the floor, got right back up again.
And that is the key, that she gets up every time.
Yeah, because it ain't about how hard you can hit.
It's about getting back up.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
That did really resonate for me today.
Yeah. I think
I don't know.
that's the thesis, you know. He just goes the distance and he keeps trying. He won't stop.
I think, okay, what was your favorite scene? We'll just go over this real quick. I'm sorry
I
to
think,
linger on
I mean, my
Rocky.
favorite scene is obviously the end. The end is amazing.
Oh, see, I didn't like the end.
The end where he gets knocked down. Everyone's saying stay. I mean, any cliche that's become of any sort of sports movie, any sort of underdog, karate, whatever you want to call it, it all stems from Rocky.
Just like the mob movies stem from The Godfather.
Right. So if you at all feel...
So essentially you have to be Italian in spirit, at least.
Sure.
To
They know what's up. They certainly knew what's up in that generation. I mean, he wrote that in 3 days.
But he must have been thinking about it for years. Like, because I do realize that you're like that. Like, you will just sit and marinate.
I mean, though, when you do watch the movie, you can kind of tell a little bit.
I'm sorry. So Aaron and I were walking back from the theater.
Right.
And I was silent. At first, I got up and I was upset when I watched it. Okay, I was feeling upset that
because
he didn't win.
But he won, and the idea of this title.
Yes, I know. It doesn't determine. I know that.
Okay.
And I came to terms with that on the walk home. But
when you started running, we were walking and Sophia was silent. I was like, she's furious with me. Or, she hated this movie. She thought it was stupid. A dumb boy movie, if you will. And then,
come on. We all know that I love a dumb boy movie.
In the middle of the walk, Sophia just starts running. You just started running home.
It's important to note that I don't run.
And then, but there were moments in the movie where I'd see you in scenes that, where he was inspiring, and I just saw your face, and you were just so, it got you.
It did get me. I mean, how could it not get you?
Oh, it gets you every time.
And here's the thing that I think about this movie, okay? Yeah, so he was having trouble selling it?
No, he had no trouble selling it. What happened was he sold it to NBC.
Well, what is the story of him knocking down people's doors?
So he was knocking down people's doors, but
to
he
sell
got to sell it.
Sorry, go ahead.
And
go ahead.
He's knocking down on people's doors, and he eventually sells it to NBC. And this is in Los Angeles. And he sells it for not much money. For no part in the movie, for nothing. And then his friend was Henry Winkler, who was the Fonz at the time.
So he had a connection?
Well, he had already sold it at this point.
To NBC?
Yes.
Okay.
And mind you, he's done nothing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he's broke, essentially. So he sells it because he's like, hell yeah, I'm going to take the money. I wrote this in 3 days. I'll pump something else out. But then he realizes oh, wait, this is this script means a lot to me. Because it's sort of his spirit. Sylvester Stallone's spirit.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you can tell
they could not have.
Part of what makes this movie emotional for me when I watch it is you could just tell there was so much at stake for these people making it,
Also.
Like when he beats the meat. That's crazy.
I couldn't understand a word he was saying half the time.
Yeah.
And I think it only fit in his voice.
Oh,
like, I
great.
feel like half of it was improvised.
Oh, it looked improvised. It
I
had
mean,
to have been.
I thought he was gonna just like go riffing.
It was awesome.
It was wonderful,
It was
but
awesome.
I couldn't imagine anyone else playing that role.
Oh, no. He's the only one who could have done it. So he sells it to NBC, and Henry Winkler and him are talking, and Henry Winkler is the Fonz time, and that's the top show in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to him. And
How did he become friends with Henry Winkler?
I don't know. I literally have no idea, but they
Okay.
knew each other. And Sylvester Stallone says, I made a huge mistake. I want to try, like, this is my story. I want to try to do it myself. I need this movie back. Henry, you got to help me. So Henry goes down to NBC, and he gets him the movie back. And then from then on, he has the script. He could have sold it to NBC. Now, no studio wants it because, he's kind of made a kerfuffle, right, around town. So now he has to get this movie financed so that he can be in it and he can make it the way he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a manager at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester Stallone.
A writing or an acting?
Just like I don't know. Presumably writing as well as acting. Probably just like a talent manager.
This is important. So Sylvester, if you want to let us know the deets, hit us up.
You could probably also Google that one, but
I think we'd be great friends.
So he sends it to his manager, and obviously everyone's like, yeah, this is great. But nobody wants to make this movie. Like, they're having trouble financing. No one wants to make it. They're kind of now down on their luck. They find a financer, but they're not going to give them enough money. So to get to movie finance, his manager took another mortgage out on his house to self-finance. Sylvester Stallone sold his dog to get this movie financed.
Did he get the dog back?
He bought the dog back after the movie came out.
Continue.
But they literally put like everything on the line to make the movie. And you can tell in it, I don't know, like there feels, sometimes in movies, you feel this sort of external.
Well, because you know as well.
Maybe because but honestly, I haven't seen that movie in maybe 10 years.
Wow. Did it hit differently?
Did it hit differently? Maybe. I don't know if it hit differently. What do you mean by that?
Than 10 years ago. Like, did it have a different impact on you? Because you really wanted to see this movie. You know, you were really passionate
I think we talked about seeing it too in theaters.
Yeah.
So I think also I thought you would like it.
Thank you.
So I wanted to see it with you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you sometimes need to be reminded that you can have the passion, you can have everything, and you can go the distance because you got the heart.
Yeah. I do really relate to Rocky. I mean, I do think that I may not have the brains or all the talent or all of those things, but I do have more heart than most people.
You
That's my
got
talent.
the heart, girl.
That's my talent.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
But
what
you
were you saying?
you have the other thing. But
Well, Rocky had the other things too, but he wasn't the best of the best. He wasn't a savant, okay? He wasn't
he wasn't a Will Hunting.
A prodigy, a child prodigy.
Sure.
Right? I was never a child prodigy.
Sure, most aren't.
Most aren't, but if you want to be as great as me, then you have to be as great as I want to be. Or you have to be a Rocky.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was knocking down the doors.
Yeah, and then they made the movie.
They made the movie.
And it won Best Picture.
Dang.
And
yeah.
I think it might have won Best Screenplay. I can't remember.
I thought it was well written.
I mean, the story it's such a good story, man. And those scenes where they got the music going, the scene where he's in bed with Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian was really cute.
She was great in the movie. He was great in the movie.
I think what I liked about the characters was that they're the opposite of the protagonists that you would expect.
Exactly. They're opposite of even the love story you would expect.
And
And
I guess you would expect, like, you know, this sexy, strong brute of a man and this, like, kind of, like, fragile, mousy woman as, like, a stereotypical trope in movies.
right.
But they really turned that on its head and, like, exaggerated it in a way.
Exaggerated and then also kind of created the genre in it of itself.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah. No. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
All to say, yeah, man. It's about going that distance.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that?
On Rocky itself?
Yeah.
I don't know if I really had much to say after that. I didn't realize that there were 6 movies.
Oh, there's a ton. And the Creed movies are all based on Rocky.
I knew that. That. I was waiting to see who Creed was because, you know, the Creed movies.
Right.
But I haven't seen any of the movies other than this one, so.
Yeah. Creed 1 is pretty good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You would actually like that one a lot.
Well, maybe I'll watch it then.
Maybe next time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, next time.
But anyway, what else has been going on? Any tea that you've heard? Any tea that I've heard?
What do I feel like? I feel like these last few weeks have been oddly busy.
Yeah?
You know, I just feel like we've been running around a bit.
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think I've been trying to make myself run around a bit.
I think you've been trying to make yourself a little busy bee.
Are you allergic to the cat right now? Is that why you're
I don't
rubbing
know
your
what the
eyes?
fuck is going on.
Do you want me to move her?
No, it's
Because it's kind of
okay.
a lot. It's distracting me.
That I'm rubbing right now?
Yeah, it's
that
a lot.
I'm rubbing myself in front of you? Oh, God. I'm fine. I'm good. This is great.
Anyway, I wanted to give you guys a little update, a little bit of tea. Do you remember how I told you guys to write a list and then your ideal partner would appear once you had finished that list?
Mm-hmm. You take that all back after these last few weeks with me?
I want to say something about our relationship, but I'll come back to that.
Oh, great.
No, I take that all back after talking with my friend today who, remember when I gave you guys that sweet story about how I told her to write the list and she did, and then she finally got her dream boy. Well, that dream boy ended up kind of being like a clout chasing LA psychopath.
Really?
So
what did he do?
I'm not going to say names, so I guess I can spill some tea.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, bro, you need to like get that cat
Just
off
keep
of you.
going. Just keep going.
Oh my God. It's really distracting me.
I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I'm done.
Anyway, she invited him to this party, right?
Okay.
And her friend invited her to the party. She was like, he basically got +3 because it was his boyfriend's party.
Okay.
And his boyfriend? Her friend's boyfriend.
Sorry.
And his boyfriend is like a songwriter who writes like very famous people's songs. So
He's a ghostwriter.
yeah, thank you. She weirdly knows a lot of ghostwriters.
Oh. Okay.
Or has like connections to ghostwriters.
Got it.
Wait.
What?
Never mind. I just thought of the movie Ghost Rider.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
I don't love that movie, but if I'm not going to say this because I believe in God, but if the devil did tempt me and say that I could have all the talent in the world and sell my soul, I might think about it. Anyway, she invited him to this party, and none of her other 2 friends that were invited even got a +1.
Oh.
She was already a +1, right?
Oh.
So he came to this party, and it was like a really amazing party. Like they had a built-in maze and they had like
What?
a huge dance floor and right. And she mentioned some famous names, but I honestly just nodded and pretended that I understood because I don't know anyone.
Right.
Especially
Sorry,
if
it's
they're
happening again. Just
somewhat
keep going.
tied to music. Oh my God, I'm sorry. That sound really irks me.
You have to keep going.
When I was younger, my dad used to do that and say that his eyeball was going to fall out. And it makes me really uncomfortable.
Oh.
Anyway.
What would Freud say about that?
Aaron, you're gross. You're kind of grossing me out today.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, impressive people at this party, impressive party, but he's a clout-chasing bastard, and we should all post his address.
That's not what I said. You're not listening to me. You're being a fool.
What? You don't like this? You're not having a good time. Do you want to continue the story? No? You're done.
Anyway, she brought him to this party, and I guess he ran into a bunch of people at the party, and at every possible moment, he asked her to take photos of him with every person that he saw at the party. It gets worse. So when she first showed me this guy, she showed me that he had a lot of fan pages about himself. I mean, there was a lot of fan pages about him, and he's like kind of a YouTuber, I guess, but not really, and he hasn't really been in anything.
Right.
And so it was weird that he had like all of these fan accounts that were like paparazzi photos of him.
Oh.
And
did he make them himself?
Upon closer look, she realized that the photos were not only taken in LA, they were taken in his hometown.
Oh God.
Of like him leaving a Starbucks.
What the
and like him walking down the street,
oh,
like
that's so
sad. Looking directly at the camera. And it's sad enough when real celebrities do this.
Oh, that's so sad.
But it was like the fog was cleared from her eyes because
wow.
She like looked back at.
That's almost cinematic in a way.
Well, it is because of all he was kind of a dirty liar. Like,
what did he lie
he
about?
told her that he was over his ex and that they stopped talking a long time ago and she was like stalking him. And, basically my friend is reading this book that her therapist recommended her. And in the book, it's about, finding the right person for you. And it basically says that if the person you're talking to talks very poorly about their exes, it and says, they did this, they did this, you will be next. You will be next.
Or you are probably the problem too.
Yes, but the thing is that you will be next.
What do you mean you will be next?
Like, let's say that you're talking shit about how your ex was crazy to me.
Right.
And you completely blame all of your issues in your relationship on her.
Yeah.
I will be the next person that you blame all of your issues on.
Yeah, of course.
That's what it basically said.
Sure. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And so he had like...
That's what he would do.
Yes. So he had said that the ex was crazy and was stalking him. But then...
I want to return to the fan account after this.
Well, this kind of has to do with the fan
Amazing.
account. There was a comment on one of the girls' TikTok posts. I don't know if I'm sharing too much, but she doesn't watch this podcast. There was a comment on his ex's. So I guess his ex posted, and if you guys are Swifties, like, please help me understand this. I do like Taylor Swift, but I don't understand all the lore behind it.
Yeah.
I guess she posted something about being heartbroken, whatever, 22. I don't know. It's a TikTok trend. If you guys understand, help me out here. She posted something along the lines of being heartbroken. And one of his many accounts, like, commented, like, Lamau, you have to be kidding me, with, like, a dead skull emoji. Like, basically gaslighting the shit out of her online on her own TikTok, commenting
he commented that?
with an account that was like one of his 3 accounts on TikTok that he had for himself, but wasn't like his main account. And so after seeing this comment, my friend was like, if he was bold enough to like make that shady comment on her post, this was also during the time that she said that he told my friend that she had been stalking him. So clearly that was not true.
He said that
the ex was stalking him.
Okay. What is this? Okay. Continue.
So when she saw that comment, she put 2 and 2 together, being like, if he could kind of create all these TikTok accounts and then be commenting on his ex's posts, maybe he was the one.
What are these TikTok accounts? I don't understand.
He created like a TikTok account to basically stalk his ex, even though he had already blocked her.
Oh, okay. I understand.
And commented on her post about being heartbroken, basically gaslighting the shit out of her.
I understand.
And my friend put together that if he was able to, create these accounts to stalk his ex and lie about it in the first place, the nature of their relationship,
right,
he probably created accounts to make himself famous.
Yeah, that's so sad.
And, the friend of my friend who kind of introduced the two, she was born and raised in LA and said that this is like a very common thing, especially in like the 2016 Vine era. And that's how like a lot of people were trying to come up.
Oh, so they make fake fan accounts for themselves, and not just do that, but then take paparazzi photos of themselves.
Now let's be clear here, okay? Celebrities do this all the time.
Yeah, but they're
just
already
better
assembled like a brand. You know what I mean? This is like some fucking rando.
Yeah. It's creepy. It's like, eerie when you think about it.
You need to be diagnosed with something.
It's
like you need help.
It's creepy.
That makes me like, oh man, but I mean, not poor guy because he just sounds insane, but at the same time,
I mean, he wasn't nice to my friend. So.
I'm sure. This doesn't sound like this is a person who's nice to himself.
Yeah.
That is like.
And my friend was also saying,
when I'm insecure, I'll put on a sweater. Maybe I'll stay inside that day.
I get it. I do. But anyway, what my friend was saying, because she's reading this book about psychology and about, finding the one. And I have to say the book that her therapist recommended her is probably way more helpful than the list that I told her to write and paste above her bed. But I still do recommend that.
Well, this means that it wasn't him, right? Clearly. Because he doesn't abide by that list.
No.
And it doesn't mean, I don't think your list necessarily means this is the next person you're magically going to run into in a month from now.
No, but
this means you should reassess your standards and write realistically what you deserve.
Exactly.
Which I agree with.
Exactly. And the book that she's reading said something that really clicked with me.
Okay.
It talked about how when we look to date someone, I will list the book below in the comments. I haven't read it, so I'm just speaking from, what my friend said to me today during our walk. And basically the author of the book says that we often look for traits in people. Like we look for personality traits. Do they like the outdoors? Things like that.
Okay.
And that's just the icing, right?
Sure.
You would never buy a cake just by knowing the icing. I mean, personally, I would, but...
You definitely would. I feel like you'd look at the cake and be like, I love that icing. I'm buying that cake.
Yeah.
But
that's not the metaphor.
I think I would too, honestly.
So we all look at the icing and don't think about the flavor of the cake, which is the quality, the character of that person.
Right.
it's not about if they can love you. It's about, have they loved other people properly before you?
Can they love
Do
themselves?
they love themselves? Do they love their family, their friends? How do they show love? Because if they can't show love in any way, they're never going to love you.
No.
And I don't know. I do feel like I've been having this conversation a lot lately. And it's interesting because, you know, I'm going home soon. And every time I go home, I reflect on just my childhood, that sort of thing, my teenage years. And my friend... bleep that out. Bleep out her name.
I think that's fine, but okay.
No. Anyway, my friend...
Continue. Keep going, please.
She is going on a dating fast, essentially. She's not going to date for months.
Okay.
And it reminded me of when I was 15 and I went on a dick embargo. And when you were close with me when I was 15, then
what is a dick embargo?
it's when you don't engage in any sexual activity.
Oh, okay.
But that's what I called it.
Got it. A dick embargo.
I feel like I went on a dick embargo when I was 15 and it changed my life forever.
Yeah, what did you learn?
I learned that I shouldn't just be giving... Well, I'm not going to go into that detailed personal information. But I realized that I need to be respected.
Yeah, you...
And I hadn't been respected. And I think that, you know, a lot of women in their 20s experience this because it's like the first time that they're really sexually active at all.
Yeah.
And I experienced that at a younger age because I thought, you know, if I'm good at being sexual, then I'll be popular and people will like me. So I think that's why I advanced at a younger age, because I thought it was like a skill that I could somehow hone in on.
Interesting.
And I think because of that, I was able, not recommending this at all, but I think that because of that, I was able to find long-term relationships a lot younger. So I think that what a lot of my friends are going through now, I've already kind of experienced, maybe in a more traumatic way.
Probably.
But
in a way that doesn't, I mean, sure. Do you think that aided you finding romantic relationships?
My dick embargo? Or
perhaps
being sexually active at a young age?
Well, I guess I see what you're saying. Because you found yourself being sexually active at a younger age, you realized what you deserved, not just through, you know, sexual experiences, but what you actually desire. And I think what any person actually desires is a not relationship in a, you know, monogamous sense, but like, you know, you want to have a connection.
Yeah.
You want to feel connected and respected.
Well,
and
I
equal.
think it's as simple as, because it happened earlier in my life, I realized earlier that I came to terms with that empty feeling I felt afterward earlier in my life. And, you know, there's a lot of things that I think I haven't really confronted about that time, and that I probably just won't ever talk about. But I don't know. I think with a lot of female sexuality too, especially at a younger age, everything that you are doing is for validation from other people.
Yes. I think that's also being a teenager too.
Yeah, and I was a teenager, and in a way that was like the power that I felt that I had.
Oh, okay.
But I realized, I don't know. I still have a complicated relationship with that time in my life.
But that makes sense. I think it was complicated. And being a teenager is very complicated because you also, at that age, want sex. You know?
Yeah.
You actively think about it all the time. You hear about kids who are doing it. You're maybe doing it. You're maybe learning about it in a weird kind of objective way.
And I feel
You're
also
hearing about
because I
it.
was the oldest child and because
Yeah. And your relationship to it with your family
And-
is very strange.
yes, and because I didn't know about sex at all.
Right.
I felt very in the dark about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actively learning about like the biology of sex while I was starting to have it.
Right.
Which I don't think is always good.
Well, they teach, certain like biology, but there's no sort of education about,
Which actually I did take. There was a class in my high school called Sex and Sexuality, and it was really hard to get into. I didn't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a random lottery thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did take an ethics class, and in the ethics class, this is so strange that I like learned all of this about myself during a religion class. We talked about basically we just talked about different sexual relationships, and under the context, not to get too religious, but of what God saw as like okay.
Right.
And that actually really helped me heal my sexual trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And why do you think that is?
Because the way that it was described in the book was that if it is respectful, consensual sex between two people who care about each other,
Sure,
it's considered okay. It's considered pure. But if you're just basically having a lot of sexual encounters without caring about the other person, and this could even be mutual respect, you're disrespecting yourself kind of and the other person in a way. And that might be like a total extreme, but at that moment in my life, I had just been having a lot of one-sided sexual relationships at a young age.
right.
I had been feeling taken advantage of, but I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Or sometimes you're not even able to, and at that age, perhaps this is the case, you're not even able to identify it, what the feeling is.
Yes, and it was
or
also
put it
like
to a name. Like, do you think you felt in that moment? Could you like name I'm being taken advantage of, or was it more?
no,
of a
I don't
feeling?
even think I can name that today. Like,
Sure.
me saying that right now, there's a ton of voices in my head right now in this moment telling me that I shouldn't have said that.
Okay.
So,
but I think that that's true. And I think that a lot of teenage girls
yes,
experience
feel
that,
that
or
way.
not even teenage girls, but women in general feel that way
Yes.
because there's a significant discrepancy between, sexual encounters when it comes to men and women,
Yes.
or heterosexual relationships.
Yeah.
All relationships. What am I
Yeah.
talking about? Doesn't matter.
And I don't know, basically the thing that I realized in this class, I had just started, because I guess there's a difference between being sexually active and having sex, which
Right.
in my mind is kind of just a heteronormative thing.
Sure.
And I also think that it's a sexist thing because after growing up and kind of learning what pleasure is, you realize that penetrative sex is very heteronormative and it caters toward the man.
Oh, yeah.
And that is what you are taught is sex.
Sure.
I
mean, was sex at all? I'm curious because you went to Catholic school. Was it taught in the framework where the means to an end of sex is for reproduction, or
not in this class.
Oh, that's good.
It was taught that the point of sex was connection with another person.
Oh, okay.
And so what I felt was that because I had been having all of this, these sexual encounters that just made me feel really empty and really lost. And I wasn't being respected. I wasn't being respected. I wasn't being cared about. I wasn't being pleased. And I think even to this day, if I was to be single again, I think I would fear having sex because I would be worried that I would be a hypocrite by having sex.
In what way?
Because I think that I'm someone, and I especially felt this way in my first relationship because it was a positive one, where I was really open about, female pleasure, and I was really open about sex being a connection between two people and being an equal thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's realistic for me to go out into the world and expect that and feel comfortable enough to receive that.
I think you should. You can't control other people's actions, and you can't control other people. And I think that that's something that we as individuals have to come to terms with. The only thing that I can control are my own actions. I can't even control my feelings, but I can control on how I share those feelings. I can control what I do with my body, as you should be able to control those things. That being said, when it comes to sex or like a new sexual encounter or dating, I think you can still tell yourself, I know what I deserve, and try to find people who you think will align with those.
Yes, but you don't know what will happen unless you're in the moment.
That's true.
Because the truth is that I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Because there is a power dynamic in the moment, and you also have to feel relaxed enough to communicate with this person.
And I think that a lot of people, when they're having casual sex,
don't
feel relaxed.
Which is why I don't think...
Or connected.
Yes. And I think because I didn't know anything about sex. I was having casual sexual encounters. I have a complex relationship with it.
Right.
I don't know if at this point in my life I could even go back to having casual sex, not because it's a bad thing, but because I don't think that I would be able to feel comfortable enough really to communicate what I need upon it, like a first hookup.
I think,
or upon meeting someone for the first time.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, And
I'm just saying this, like, I
think you would.
I feel like with a lot of my friends too, who are very sexually positive, right? When I meet a new female friend, or, when we start talking about these things for the first time, we will talk about sex, and they will say that, oh, like, I enjoy sex, or I always end up having sex when I always end up falling for someone when I have sex, blah, 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 blah. And then I will realize, like, when I get really close to that person, that chances are they have never orgasmed from a man when having casual sex, or when having any sex.
Right.
Like, chances are maybe they don't enjoy it as much as they have said in the beginning. And I think it's just like a very like normal thing that sometimes frustrates me.
That because I'll even.
I'm sorry. I don't know
this.
if I'm articulating myself very well.
I
right
understand
now.
what you're saying, and I'll reframe that. The pleasure that we're centering, I think, is often best, and when you do have sex or when you are sexually active, when it is centered around, and when we talk about pleasure, and an orgasm can be, you can extrapolate that pleasure is that, but it's also when it feels connected with that other person. You know what I mean? So, when you're talking about these friends who who talk about sex when you meet up with them or when you're chatting, and they're talking about guys or boys and dating, and you dive into maybe a one-on-one on them down the line in like a few weeks, and they're still seeing this person, and they're describing the encounter to you. I think you as Sophia sees like past Sophia in that, because you've experienced that yourself, right? Where they're discovering what their relationship to sex is, and you as present Sophia knows that, like, the weird feeling you can feel after having an encounter that doesn't feel fulfilled, because the expectation is once sex is done, there's a fulfillment, and that's not always true, and that's why people feel bad. Sometimes it doesn't feel good after. It's because I think there's this miscommunication
Between me and my friend?
between between two. Perhaps. Maybe there's a miscommunication here. But I think sex is centered around connection. As opposed, and I think it gets conflated because sex is very mysterious.
Yeah, but I don't think it should be.
I don't think it should be either, but it is.
Yeah,
and that's how it exists to most people. And you can watch porn, you could read smut, you could watch television,
but
you could experience sex in all these different ways, and your exposure could be... Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
I listened to this podcast, and remember I talked about it in the last podcast, but I don't think we posted it, with Stephen Bartlett and Africa Brooke.
Yeah.
And she talked about the fact that she realized after, going sober and rediscovering her relationship with sex, she realized that a lot of the sexual positions are only positions because in porn, because of the camera angle.
They only exist as positions because of the camera. Sure.
Like a lot of pornographic positions are famous positions because of the camera angle.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not even for the comfortability of the two partners.
Totally agree.
But I didn't even think about that. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm like thinking about this a lot right now.
Sure.
Because I'm going home, and weirdly enough, no. But weirdly enough, home is a place where I've had most of my sexual encounters in my entire life, because I was young when this happened and I was in high school.
Yeah.
And anything outside of that has been you.
Right.
And also, my sister is at an age where I remember my sister's at the age where I remember being Pavlovian locked. You guys should watch the Pavlovian Lads episode if you haven't, because that's a reference to that. But yeah, I just I think my sister's in an experimental place in her life.
Right.
And I remember that very vividly in my life. So I think that, all my friends are kind of discovering this at not an older age by any means, but older than I was. It's more normal than I think my experience was.
I don't think yours is abnormal, but
no, but
I think it
happens at different times for everyone. And I think I've just been reflecting on that a lot, because I think a lot of like young women that I've been talking to recently have been talking about these like awkward encounters and like miscommunicated expectations, not just with sex, but with dating in general.
Right.
And I also think maybe it's specifically high school, but I think where I grew up had a very specific dating culture. And sometimes thinking about that makes me feel like I did when I was in high school. I don't know.
In what way? And about what?
I don't know. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable now.
Yeah, I can see you tensed up.
I did.
You give a little shiver.
I'm just feeling like maybe I overshared on this podcast today.
I don't think so.
I know, but
I don't think you even said anything about yourself. I think we were just talking about sex.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that, yeah, it's something that we've mystified, because I think that that's how a lot of people operate, is in the hope of having sex.
The hope of having sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy?
No, I just didn't understand what you said.
I think like that's what. Like, why do people go out? Why do people, you know?
For sex.
I
I don't know
think
if it's necessarily for the act of sex, though.
th-
Especially for women, I don't think it's just for the act of sex.
Or you don't think so?
I think sex is a way of connecting, and I think that you can flirt in a way that's sexual, and you can do things that are sexual, but it doesn't necessarily have to be satisfied through sex.
Sure.
And I do think that is often the expectation that I would feel if I went on a date with someone. This is going to end in sex.
Right.
And I think that's why I would fear going on dates with people. Because for a long time, you know, and there's this like way of labeling people where like, oh, they're a tease, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for a long time, because I enjoy sex and because I feel like I'm sexually positive, I felt this pressure to perform sexually.
Yeah.
Because it was this quote unquote skill that I had to offer. But now I feel like what I would enjoy about dating personally at this point in my life, and not that I want to date anyone clearly,
Anyone?
you, but that's different because we're in a relationship. I'm talking about like level one dating.
Yes.
I think I would enjoy like the flirtatious banter, or like the first dates, or like those sorts of butterflies, which obviously signify sex
or connection.
Yes, but I think I would be okay with like getting satisfaction from that.
Sure, I totally understand that.
You know? And I do think a lot of like, I don't know. I think it took me a while to admit to myself that it's okay to just get satisfaction from that and to not go further.
But you also can, and that's fine too.
You totally also can, and that's fine. But the thing is that I'm trying to say is that when you do go further, especially if you're a girl and you're having heterosexual sex, if you are a woman having sex with a man and you decide that you want sex and you want to go further, and maybe I haven't had enough sex, but 90% of the time it's going to end in some sort of disappointment, or some sort of you not feeling this orgasmic pleasure, and then you blaming yourself because you're a hypocrite and you think that you're sexually positive,
right.
But it just ended in you not being pleased.
Is this an intervention for me right now?
No, clearly not. Clearly, I would not be dating you if it was an intervention for you.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
But that's what I'm saying. That the risk of going further for a lot of heterosexual women is, even if you want sex, you might not get the sex that you want.
Yeah.
And
certainly.
every time the guy will. And that's just frustrating.
Right.
And it just frustrates me for my fellow girls out there and for my little Sophia self. And when Rocky looked at his little tiny picture on the mirror, in that scene, I saw little Sophia struggling with all those things that I just talked about.
Yeah, that part.
And because
really
I had, a talk with my friend, and we were talking about relationships.
Where do they stand now?
They are not dating right now. They don't want to. They kind of want a space, and
cool.
I mean, I did tell her that after my dick embargo when I was 15, my life changed forever.
Sure, I think that reflects.
And I'm not saying that you have to stop having sex. I'm just saying that
I don't even perceive that as abstinence. I perceive that more as just like self-reflection. and
No.
distancing yourself from those things so that you can think about
And it's also like if you
what that meant
keep
to you.
attracting a certain type of person, and this is what she was saying to me, that she keeps attracting a certain type of person.
Okay.
And she, in her book that she was reading, she said that that is not a coincidence. It is very
Yes.
purposeful, and it's because of the energy that you are putting out there. And I do think at that time in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, it varies, but
Maybe it's not an energy, but it's certainly what you're looking for, even if it's not conscious.
yes.
It's there's something, whether it's, validation from someone more popular, validation from someone, who has something. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or it could be the opposite. But yeah, I think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very complicated. But yeah, I think that it's good to reflect on the kind of love that you need in order to feel stimulated.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that you need
Which is
to
why I
have
think
love to feel stimulated.
no, of course not, of course not. But that love can be from yourself as well,
Yes,
or
and
from the things you do.
I don't know. I also think that I don't want to make it sound like I disagree with casual sex, because
Of
I
course not.
don't.
I don't think that's.
And I also don't want to make it sound like I think that the only pleasure can come from being in love. And I do think more pleasure can come from being in love.
Well, I think love is multifaceted.
But I do believe, and this is because of my personal experiences, that the only time a man really cares and knows my body is when he is in love with me.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense.
But that is fucked up.
Why?
Because I think that people who don't love me and choose to have sex with me should care about my body as well.
Absolutely. No. That's not what I meant. When I said why, I think it makes sense that the best sex you're gonna have is with the person you feel the most connected to.
Obviously.
So, and where there can be actual communication of what I need right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because sex doesn't just need to be what the stereotype of great sex is.
But
and
I
you can
do
have
think
that
that this stereotype, quote unquote, fulfills the need of
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
man. And so that's why when a lot of people go into sex with the limited knowledge that they have, or from watching porn, or from whatever, from hearing things about sex,
Yeah, they think that's what it should be.
that is in their mind, and that was in my mind, the right way to have sex.
Yeah, I agree.
And I still feel like I'm figuring it out. I've been in a relationship for 4 years, and I still feel like I could be performative, and I could be, hard on myself after sex. Like sometimes I feel if I'm not good enough, or I'm having a slow day, or I'm tired, or maybe one person was pleased more than the other in whichever way, I still get mad at myself after, and I look at myself as less than because of that one interaction. And I think it's just because at a younger age I put a lot of pressure on myself. That
I think in general you put a lot of pressure
no,
on
obviously,
yourself.
but I think that I don't know. Weirdly enough, I felt like I never fit in high school and grammar school, and I felt that being flirtatious and sexually appealing was my way at fitting in, which is really fucked up when you think about it. And I think that's why I've been Pavloved. Am I sounding like an idiot?
Not at all.
Because I feel kind of like an idiot right now.
Why is that?
I don't know. You just kind of seem a little bit like distant, and now I'm like a little bit emotional and feeling awkward.
Oh, sorry. I think it's
It's
an awkward
okay.
thing to talk about too.
It is. It is, especially with the camera sitting here. But you
I mean, it's
guys
right
are
there.
clearly very close to us now.
Clearly. I cannot believe he was taking photos of himself.
Or hiring someone to take photos of him. Yeah.
That's even worse. But probably, how else could you do that? I gotta see these later. You gotta show it to me.
You have to ask her to send them to you. I don't have the accounts.
You know his name though.
I don't know his last name.
You can probably find him. Anyway, shit, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, if you ever think, I look through social media and I get a little sad and I'm like, oh, they have this life, they have this life. It's clearly all fake. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
AI is going to get more followers than us anyway in the end. So all that matters is the connections that you make one-on-one.
It's about going the distance, baby.
Yeah.
Can you rock it up?
Yeah. I guess I am hard on myself in like every aspect of my life. So,
I think you are.
yeah.
I think that you also assume, not even an assumption. I think that you. That's interesting though. The things that you're saying now are things that I haven't heard you express before.
Like what?
Like about your Rocky realization. Like I've never heard you put that into words.
Explain. What did I say? I need to be reminded.
Well, like when you started running home, when you sprinted home, I saw a mental shift because the movie ended when we saw Rocky. The movie ended and you were pissed. You were very upset. You batted my hand away.
Yeah.
And you got up and left the theater. You said he lost, and you got up and left the theater. And you were like, I and then we exited. And then you said, I don't know how I feel about that. And then you just started running, and you ran all the way home.
So basically what you're saying is the thing you've never seen from me is me running.
No, it was a cognitive shift where I think you realized What?
It's just so crazy.
Where you realized he did win.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't all for nothing. And that
Well, because he proved it to himself.
He proved it to himself, man.
I think what upset me in the end...
you're talking about, these career goals is you want to also prove it to yourself.
I think also...
that you...
No, you continue.
...are capable. You know you're talented. Right? That you have all these things. And it's not even about the other self-recognition, but it's about proving it to yourself that you can go the distance.
Yes.
And you absolutely
And
can.
I have to say, okay, I think what upset me about the end was that when he was screaming her name and she ran up to him at the end, you really saw it as this beautiful moment.
Yes.
And that's your favorite part of the movie. Or your favorite part is when he gets back up. But still, it's kind of in the same scene.
Yeah.
And I was so angry by the fact that him getting the girl was the victory. Him being in love was the victory. Because in my mind, I saw myself as Rocky. And I was like, I already have that. I already have the love of my life. I already have my family there protecting me. I don't need that anymore.
He saw that as an appreciation, though.
No, obviously.
And he saw that as he got what he wanted. He didn't even.
I was just angry, okay? I was just angry that the end goal was love instead of just his career victory, okay? I wanted a cheap win. I'm sorry that I did. We all know me at this podcast.
For me, it's what makes the movie, though.
And I know that you felt that way. And I think that's why I felt upset. Because I sat there and I was thinking, and this is a crazy thing to think, but I thought, wow, Aaron and I together, because I can't write, but I have ideas and I have drive, are going to write films together. And we're going to keep going and going. And then I thought to myself, one day, after probably 3 films, maybe 2, Aaron will
Maybe
feel
2.
satisfied. And he will stop working and be okay. And I never will. And I'll keep pulling on him to do it. And I will never be okay with just the final hug moment at the end. That will never, ever satisfy me, no matter how much I love you.
You're like Hamilton.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to cheat on you. I know what this relationship is worth. Clearly.
Yeah. Like, for me, it's not even a... And maybe I am more like Rocky, and maybe you're more like Goodwill.
No.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
No, because in
Because
the end, he got the girl too.
because
That's the whole point, is the romance love. And not saying that I don't
You're not
love
at the
romance.
end of Goodwill Hunting. You're in your beginning stage. You're still the janitor at MIT. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do clean the
You're
toilets
solving
at work.
You're solving the problems on the board, going pa-ka-pa, sikata. You're writing the little things. You're solving the little problems still. You're proving to the world of what you can really do. I am in the streets of Philly. I'm in the streets of Philadelphia with my community.
So I don't think that analogy works in any way.
I'm still going with this little thing.
I'm closer to my community than you
I'm
are.
not even I'm talking about the community right here, okay? And what is it that I would what I would value as a win might not even be the win itself.
I don't think we have the same values of what winning is.
Right.
And that scared me when I saw that part in the movie, because I realized that our different reactions to the end of the movie made me realize that we have different perceptions of winning. And it made me wonder if we could go the distance.
Because he didn't objectively win the fight.
Because
so he lost,
I knew in that moment.
And it's worth nothing?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. You're not listening to me.
Okay.
I was upset not because he lost. I wasn't upset that he lost. I was upset that the win was portrayed as the love with his girlfriend.
I think it's just the love of life, too.
No, but
He's in the corner with his team.
Listen to me. You're not listening. To me, it was the love with his girlfriend, and I knew that was the moment that you enjoyed the most and that you saw as a victory. But for me, if you see that as a victory, then we're done. Then we're kaput. We've already gotten to the finale. We've already made it. Don't you understand that? We've made it. And I need you to keep going. For me. And I realized that one day you're going to be satisfied with your life, and you're going to want to settle down and take care of children and do all of those things, those husbandly things, and I'm never going to be satisfied. And that's why I got angry. But then I remembered that that's what makes me great, so I started to run.
Do you think you would be satisfied if you, quote unquote, won?
Like an Oscar?
Or a part or whatever?
I don't know if I'll ever be satisfied, no.
Sure. So what?
Here's the thing, and maybe this goes back to my whole sexual journey, okay?
Okay.
I think I'm very good at relationships.
Yes.
I think that I have a talent for connecting with people.
I agree.
Especially in really close relationships. I don't need a lot of people in my life. And I have a very close bond with my family. Even though, we obviously have things that we could be working on, I do feel like it's very strong, especially compared to other people.
Yeah.
I feel that way about my relationship. I feel that way. I feel very satisfied in my relationship. I don't want anything more in my relationship. I've felt like romantically, not career-wise. But I felt lately, like, especially between us, this sense of just like total ease. Like,
yeah,
I will be laying with you at night and I don't feel the urge to fight you anymore.
That's good.
I just feel happy all the time.
Oh, that's nice.
No, it's true. I think that I've completely succeeded in this relationship at this moment. I'm so in love with you. But That's why
Send it there.
I don't need the win to be the love, because I already have it. And I know I will always have it. And even if I lose it, I'll get it again.
You're saying if you lose love?
Yeah, I'll always have love. I will always have love in my life.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And
So you're saying, so I need something to chase still?
yes, because maybe I was chasing love when I was like a kid, right? But I got it pretty early on. Like the fact that we ended up together at 19 years old and we have this great partnership at such a young age.
But no one is saying just because Rocky got up and he didn't win the fight and he has
No, but the love was the portrayal of success, and all I'm saying is that's not my success because I've already succeeded in that.
Well, it's also the drive, and it's okay if he didn't win because he's got up. He's gonna keep going.
And I realized that, and that's why I ran. That's why I ran.
Right.
But the point is that in that moment, I just wanted to clarify what I was thinking.
And what's beautiful about it is if he won, then he would have stopped. But the beauty of that is
he wouldn't have stopped. He's
gonna
Rocky.
Keep going.
Make 6 more
is
movies.
That he lost and he keeps going after.
And I will always keep going.
And he has in mind what he needs.
Yeah. You're right.
And he has a healthy mentality towards what winning is.
He does. And maybe I don't have that. I think I'm just so afraid that I won't even get the chance, you know?
Oh, you're shot, baby.
And I realized that
you want a shot,
Rocky
take a shot.
worked hard, but he was given a crazy opportunity.
Was crazy. When he pointed in the phone book and he said, "Give me the Italian stallion."
And it was like, really based on his name. I was like, should we...
Maybe we should rebrand our name to some kind of ethnic pun?
Well, we have too many ethnicities to make a pun about it.
Well, we could make a fun one. You know?
Which ethnicity would you use?
Well, we'd combine. I feel like the Asian Colombian would be like, no one would expect that.
No. I don't.
So we'd have to combine that. So we'd have to combine that and then like LLC.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. Coriumban.
What's like a Colombian staple?
Coffee.
How do you say coffee in Spanish?
Café.
No, that doesn't work. I was gonna think of
café con leche.
Bibim.
How about like frijoles?
Bibim frijoles.
Bibim frijoles.
We'll still work on it. We'll workshop the name.
Frijol bap.
Frijol bap. B-A-P.
This is why fusion doesn't work. Please
No.
do not get fucking kimchi tacos, you gross little LA sluts.
Yeah, you whores. As Rocky would say. When he called the kid a whore, I was like, Jesus, Rocky.
Honestly, I was like, yeah, been told that.
Yes, by a weird man with a hat. Like, the scenes where Rocky is, like, bouncing his ball down the street, you're like, Jesus.
My favorite thing about Rocky is that we have matching leather jackets.
Rocky's, like, really funny.
It's hilarious. And it's also, like... Maybe it's not the same with Good Will Hunting because I think the stakes... that movie takes itself a little more seriously. And it is more serious.
It's more serious than, like...
But I do feel like you know a Rocky.
Oh, everybody knows
that guy.
Everyone
knows Rocky.
I know exactly who that is in my head.
And I can't tell because I haven't watched a lot of Sylvester Stallone interviews. I can't tell if that's actually him or...
I think it's...
if it is just an exaggerated...
I think it's certainly exaggerated, but I think it certainly embodies his spirit.
He's from Philadelphia.
I'd have to check that. Probably. I don't know. That would be weird if he wasn't.
Yeah, it was very specific, I feel like.
All to say, he might be from New Jersey. I don't know. Probably from Philadelphia. But all to say, yeah, I think that is certainly the spirit of what he embodies, which is rah, rah. Rah rah, baby boy.
Ra ra Rocky.
Rah rah, Rocky. Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad we saw that.
Me too. Thanks for taking me, buddy.
Of course, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll let it off like this. Let us know what you think of the new setup. Huh? She really completes the picture. Like, the framing
She
is so much
does.
better
She
when
does.
she's there.
She's always there anyway.
Yeah.
And she does cover her face with her paw.
Well, the light is so bright.
Anyway, if you guys, want to comment on anything that we've
yours?
said, if you want to provide comfort or if you need comfort,
It's become clear to me after looking at the analytics that we're on some feet playlists.
we are.
So,
I do think it's because I was wearing
and this is no
red.
exception, because
You're right. We
there is
can
bare
still qualify for the feet playlist.
it's just the feet of a feline. But
yeah.
that's okay.
So we will be going home for the holidays. What? Thursday morning?
Yep.
What day is it today? Tuesday morning?
On the day this posts, we will be first train home.
We will be on a flight to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So happy damn holidays to you,
happy holidays.
and God bless.
Fee-fa-fo-fum, bitches.